Hey everyone, so I'm here early waiting for an event to start, and I thought I would share another story from the early days of the sport about one of the interesting characters from back then. By the way, I'm not driving. Look, see? Okay, so no angry emails, please. Um, so this is a story that's actually gotten around over the years out on the East Coast, but I have some new information that I think is pretty cool. This is the story of the drunken hillbilly of Paw Paw. Uh, Anybody who was there knows exactly what I'm talking about. So first, I got to set the stage. So Spencer Thurman built a private disc golf course in Paw Paw, West Virginia. Now, right there, this was amazing back then. We actually even heard about this course in Colorado because it was so unique. There was Laurel Springs and I think Swing DBs and a couple others, but the idea of a private disc golf course, unbelievable. And something that made Paw Paw actually even extra like super unique was that this is a course where you could shoot in the low 60s and win a tournament. Most courses back then you had to shoot in the low 40s. So Spencer had some vision there. So, but Paw Paw was amazing. So basically, to get to Paw Paw, is you drive an hour, give or take, deep into the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia until you get to the town of Paw Paw. Now I got to take a quick aside again to set the stage. There were only two businesses in the entire city of Paw Paw. I mean, this is out in the middle of absolute nowhere up in the mountains. Paw Paw had a gas station and a strip club, of course, right? And the only way to describe the scene is, strip clubs they're great. I mean, everybody likes different things. If your thing is watching a 45-year-old woman with 8 teeth who's 8 months pregnant dancing on a pole, and then when the song's over, watching her go sit at the bar and drink a Jack and Coke and smoke a cigarette while nursing her other child, go to the Paw Paw Strip Club. Not an exaggeration, by the way. But that's Paw Paw, right? It's amazing. So we get out to Paw Paw and we get to the course a couple days early. And what's really neat about Paw Paw, this was also really unique. Laurel Springs did this, but this was very uncommon, is that you camped on site. You actually would park your car, set up a tent, and camp on the disc golf course. I mean, there's no hotels around or anything, so you kind of had to do this. And when I got there, I met this drunk hillbilly by the name of Rusty, who was working the course. Pretty good golfer, nice enough guy, I guess, but he was an honest to God mountain person. Now, if you haven't been out, this is why you guys have to tour. If you haven't, there's cultures out there that you might not even know exist or don't believe exist, and one of them is the culture of the mountain people. This is the people that live up in the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia, North Carolina, Eastern Kentucky, Eastern Tennessee. Absolutely love the mountain people. They've been so good to me over the years. This is not in any way a knock on them. These are my peeps. I love them to death. But this is this is a culture that's very unique. The way I can describe it is there are roads in our country where if you drive up the wrong road, you will be met by a 75-year-old woman with a homemade sheriff's badge and a shotgun who will point the shotgun at your car and tell you that you aren't welcome in these parts. That happens, and she's in the mountain folk, right? Love them. And anyway, so that's Rusty, right? Rusty's one of the mountain folk. So at the tournament, everybody's camping out on Saturday night. One of the traditions at Paw Paw is to have this big bonfire. And in case you're wondering, yes, this is the exact same bonfire that on the previous year, Jack Stanton got drunk. Well, most people that were drinking tried to take a running leap over the bonfire. I shouldn't laugh. I love you, Jack, but this is what happens when you drink. Jack fell face first into the bonfire, came out of the bonfire covered head to toe in red burning cinders, burning flesh. People were putting him out with beer. And the lesson here is if you ever decide to get drunk and jump over a bonfire, don't do it an hour from the nearest hospital. There's my grown-up lesson for you kids. But this is Paw Paw, right? This is what happens. So the year I was there was 1993. I don't know if you mentioned that, but Rusty, the drunken hillbilly, drinking moonshine. This is what people, mountain folk, drink. They drink shines, the real deal. And Rusty decides that he's going to recite poetry. And he goes and gets his poetry, and he comes back to the bonfire with a stack of poetry that he's written. It's just a stack of paper this thick of poetry, his poetry. And Rusty's been drinking moonshine all night and is wearing nothing but a pink Speedo. That's it. It's just drinking moonshine, wearing a pink Speedo, gonna read a stack of poetry to everybody at the bonfire. So he backs up his pickup truck. Of course, he has a pickup truck, and backs up his pickup truck, sets up a chair in the back of the pickup truck, sits in the back of the truck, and proceeds to start reading his poetry. It's probably like 2 in the morning at this point. And he gets deep into his poetry, and if anybody tries to get up from the bonfire and go to bed, he jumps out of the truck, gets in their face, and intimidates them and scares them back into sitting down and listening to his poetry. So Rusty's not going to let anybody, and there's a lot of people, he's not going to let anybody go to sleep. Everybody's going to listen to his poetry for the remainder of the evening. So eventually he makes his way through his poetry. Everybody goes off to bed. Rusty goes back to his tent and discovers that in addition to his moonshine, he had another bottle of alcohol, and somebody ate the worm. And Rusty loses his mind because somebody ate the worm. He gets in his pickup truck and he starts doing donuts in and around the campground, yelling and screaming and throwing up dirt and running over tents or tent poles. And literally every single person in the campground, most of them naked, or at least half of them are naked, jumping out of their tents and running terrified into the woods and hiding behind trees while they watch from a distance as Rusty proceeds to tear up the entire campground. Not really a campground, it's just this open area, but tear it up in his pickup truck. And the way to know how like serious this was is that if anybody was telling this story for years afterwards, when they told the story, you would laugh, and their response would be, "No, no, no, it's not. It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all. It sucked." Anyway, so Rusty proceeded to keep everybody up all night, terrorizing them because someone drank the worm after his moonshine was gone. So that's the drunken hillbilly at Paw Paw. So come to the awards ceremony on Sunday. Rusty stands up there in front of everybody and says, "I want to apologize. I was acting the fool that night. And to show how sorry I am," pulls out a $20 bill and says, "I'm going to donate this $20 here to the women's field. So I'm going to donate this to the pro women." All right, it's all good now, right? So that was Rusty, the drunken hillbilly at Paw Paw. So fast forward like 18 years, 19 years later, I've taken, oh, was it that long? Oh my God, it was whatever, forever later. I'm old. But all these years later, I come back to the sport, and I get this message on Facebook from someone who says, "Hey man, I just want to tell you that, hey, I'm really proud of you. I've been following you on Facebook. All the special needs work you do is amazing. I'm really proud of you, brother." And I wrote back and I was like, "Hey, thanks," right? And he responds with, "You don't know who this is, do you?" He goes, "This is Rusty. This is the drunken hillbilly in Paw Paw who tried to kill everybody in his pickup truck back when." And I was like, "Oh my God." I mean, I absolutely could not believe this guy was still alive. The over-under on him was probably 6 months at this point. And all these years later, he's still alive. And so I thanked him, didn't give it much thought. A couple months later, I go to the Grange in Virginia, and this guy walks up to me, has a beautiful wife who clearly adores him next to him. He's holding the hand of a little boy, and he has another little boy sitting on his shoulder. And he comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Scott, how's it going? It's me, Rusty, from Paw Paw." And yeah, it turns out Rusty, a woman was from Africa, was over here studying, and they fell in love. She went back to Africa. He decided he had to be with her. He flew back to Africa, married her, brought her here, quit drinking, has 2 beautiful kids. I mean, the guy is the most doting father you've ever seen in your life, nicest guy in the world, and someone I'm super proud to call my friend. And I'm only telling this story with permission from Rusty. So, Rusty, love you. And I don't know, just another story from the early days of the sport. It was weird back then. All right. Man, I hope people show up. All right. See you guys.